Hi guys, welcome back to Coffee with Megan. Well, I'm chatting to people who truly just inspire me, who are doing things a little bit differently, who have that go again attitude towards life. And today's guest is someone that embodies all of that. I'm speaking to Danni Washington. She is an American activist, an artist, a TV presenter, and she campaigns for cleaner plastic-free oceans. She is also founded her own nonprofit, Big Blue and You, which we'll speak about. She has a degree in marine biology, and she loves everything about the ocean. So we're going to speak about that, her experience with the ocean, a little bit about sharks, a little bit about where this passion came from, and how it felt to achieve so much in her career so far as a personality and a presenter in this world. I was first introduced to Danni at an event where I saw her speak, and she spoke so well, and as she does in this interview. So I hope you learn a lot and enjoy our conversation. Let me know. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome back to Coffee with Megan. I'm really excited today to chat to Danni Washington. She is someone I was first introduced to in New York. It was during Fashion Week, and there was this summit event which had a panel of speakers, all speaking in different areas on sustainability, the future of sustainability, and different things that are being kind of developed and things we can be excited about. And Danni, I was so excited by you because you were really refreshing in the way you delivered this conversation. And that's something I want to speak about. But then after that, I did some research on you and I found out you were involved in so many different things. I'm going to try and cover a lot of this in this conversation, but you're an activist, you're an artist, you're a TV presenter who campaigns for cleaner and plastic-free oceans. Among other things. So I'm really excited to speak to you, and thank you so much for being here. Where am I chatting to you today from?
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm currently in Los Angeles, California, and this is part-time home base for me. I'm originally from Miami, so I split my time between the two cities. Not a bad deal, you know, sunshine to sunshine. Can't get any better than that. But yeah, I'm out here in LA and I love it. It's really a great place to be, people-wise, community-wise, but also for my career. So no complaints on this side.
Amazing. Yeah, we are actually both in LA right now. We were just chatting about that before the podcast. We're probably around the corner from each other. Yeah. So I want to start at the beginning kind of where your passion started, which is for the oceans. And I read something that started at the age of 6. Where did that come from? Where did your passion for the marine life and the ocean world start?
That's a great question. Before I jump into that, I do want to acknowledge Sierra, Quit, and Therese.
Yes.
Janari, they're the founders of the Better Summit, where you happen to see me speak on that panel, and it was such a great event. That was their inaugural summit, which was super impressive. We had great conversations, and I, alongside with you, made some great, contacts and people who are in this community who believe in a better future for all of us. We were in the room together overlooking New York City with that gorgeous sunset. I'll always remember that. It's awesome.
No, it was pretty special. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. And through that, I've met so many, there was just a room full of people all with the kind of same interests, but from all different areas. So it's been really amazing that they brought so many people together. And I think that was definitely Sierra's, one of her big goals from that. So I'm glad.
Absolutely.
I'm glad they have, we've been introduced through that. So thank you so much for acknowledging that. Yeah, that's great.
You're welcome. Yeah, Sierra's my girl. I love her so much. And right now she's doing her thing out in Park City, Utah, skiing and everything. Anyway, shout out to Sierra.
Shout out to Sierra. I agree.
So as far as me and my childhood, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and had a deep connection with the ocean from a very young age because of my parents who were willing to take me to the beach on a regular basis. And, for a lot of people, especially people who look like me, who are melanated like me, that isn't necessarily always the case. Even if you live in a coastal city, we see a lot of people of color lacking access to ocean areas and waterfront areas. And that's something that's happened throughout history in this country, but that's a totally different tangent. But beyond that first barrier, my parents were able to overcome that and saw and noticed that I spoke about this love for sea creatures, and like the idea of exploring the ocean was always something that sparked my interest. And they thankfully recognized it, didn't quite understand why, but still helped me pursue that passion. And after attending a high school program that had a magnet magnet classes essentially regarding marine science, I knew for sure that that's the field that I wanted to get into. And so I ended up going to University of Miami, go Canes,
Yeah.
and studied marine biology there. And they have one of the top 5 best marine science programs in the US. And so I dove into shark research. I interned with NOAA, the government agency that handles all things ocean, and got a pretty good vantage point of what opportunities were available to me, because I also grew up at the same time having this vision, when kids say, oh, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a ballerina, the list goes on. I was just one of those kids who never wavered from the idea of becoming a marine biologist. It was just something that I knew I wanted to do. But the responses that I would get from people when they'd ask me the question, the quintessential, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'd be like, oh, you can't do that. Like, Black people don't swim in the ocean, or you're never going to make money being a marine biologist. And that was the stuff that I had to overcome mentally, starting from a super young age. But honestly, all those things were fuel for my fire. And once I graduated from college with my Bachelor of Science degree, I knew that there was something more that I had to do that was calling my name. And that was really focused on communications and bringing the messaging from the science world into the popular world, which for a long time has been disconnected, which it shouldn't be, because science influences every single one of us on an everyday basis. And the more that we understand the way that the world works, especially the natural world, the more likely that it'll be that we humans can live in harmony with nature. And so that became very clear after college, that I need to transition into kind of being a catalyst to help scientists and their genius and all the brilliant work that they're doing, help translate it and bring it into the public eye. And that's what I do today.
Yeah, no, that is 100% something that you do so well. And something that I wanted to speak about is how you use your social media to really push that message across. And you've explained a lot of that fuel, because you came out of university and you did your marine biology degree, and you could have gone into an average 9 to 5 like other people. But as you were saying, you were very fueled by, was the fuel a lot coming from the lack of diversity you were seeing? That fuel pushed you heavily to use your voice and become a personality in that area?
Absolutely. I mean, for me as a child, having that idea of becoming a marine scientist, like I never saw anyone who looked like me in that field. I never saw anyone on TV. I would go to career fairs, and I never met anyone that I could, see that could have possibly a similar lived experience. And that's why I wanted to change it. And the only way to do that is to literally get on camera and be in front of the camera so that you're visible. Overcoming shyness. And, as a kid, I was very much an introvert, but now I definitely consider myself an extrovert because I have to be in this career space. But I enjoy it because the passion drives that motivation. It's not just about being famous or being well known. That's not what this is for me. It's about driving a positive message and being that role model for little girls and little boys all over the world who want to try something different and go against the grain of what the world is telling them they can be.
Yeah, and you did achieve that. I mean, I read that you were the first African-American woman to host a science show, and that must feel amazing. Like, how does that feel for you? Or does it feel kind of at the same time also like, well, it should have already happened, but does it feel, what is the feeling towards that?
Truly, I feel honored to be in a position to help break down that door for others. I think it's a privilege, and I don't take that privilege lightly. And so every day I'm trying to find new ways for me to cultivate more community that is aligned with the similar vision of protecting our planet and protecting people, but also, creating inspiration for others to pursue their passion. Again, it doesn't have to be marine biology, it doesn't have to be STEM or science. Like, I just want to see the world, each individual follow what they feel is the thing that gives them a light and a fire in their belly, right? Like, if we all pursued our passion diligently and fervently, I think we would live in a much different world, where people are not motivated by just money or power, but motivated by the things that they know that they have, the gifts that they have, and they're willing to serve others with those gifts. That's where change happens.
I love that. Was going a little bit off topic, but where you have that fuel, was your family a big part? Like, some people aren't raised with that image of life of finding your passion and that's what you should follow. Is that a big influence from your family, would you say, or is that something you cultivated yourself?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, I feel extremely blessed to have had two parents that co-parented me with their whole hearts, and again, had the wherewithal to recognize that I had a passion and were willing to help cultivate that. But at the same time, I mean, I also have family members that were the ones who were telling me those negative things, you know, and telling me that I couldn't do it. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but now they see what I'm doing and they kind of have a better understanding of why I love what I do, which is really great. And I love being able to share experiences with them and take them on my adventures. Every time I go home, you know, I always share all my videos and content, and they're always like cheering me on. So I really feel super grateful for that.
I love that. One of the first things you founded was a nonprofit, Big Blue and You, which was actually with a family member, with your mum at only 21 years old. Could you tell us a little bit about what your nonprofit is and why you wanted to found it, and what was this reasoning?
Big Blue and You is a nonprofit that my mom and I co-founded back in 2008. That was the year that I graduated from the University of Miami. And at the time, I thought the most effective way to give back to my community and kind of help create this vision of more children being connected to the ocean was through a nonprofit. And so serendipitously enough, I entered a contest with Roxy, the surf brand.
Oh.
They did a one-time only cross-country tour called the Roxy Follow Your Heart Tour, asking young women what they're doing to follow their passion. And we all had to submit a video. So I made a video with a friend who happened to be a grad student at the time at UM. She volunteered and came out with me and my little cousins to the beach. And we made this short 3-minute video about plastic pollution and what people can do to help resolve it, and especially kids. And I ended up winning that contest. And so with the prize, they gave me a $10,000 check. And that check is what my mom and I used to create the organization and kind of it was like my startup funding to get it off the ground. And over the last 13, 14 years, we've served the Miami, South Florida community through curating special events for children and their families on the beach, near the beach, about the ocean, giving people a glimpse into why the coastal ecosystem, especially that we have in Florida, is so critically important to human beings as a whole. And I just love it. I get to connect with scientists and artists and different creative people in my community and galvanize them to contribute to this vision of a brighter future for the environment and for everyone around us.
You talk about with Big Blue and You as well, you talk about one of your things you do is using art as a medium for people, for kids and people. Is it mostly kids you focus on?
For the most part, yes, but I believe everybody's a kid at heart. It's just that we fall asleep to that idea, or we forget.
I agree. But we talk about using art as a powerful medium. Why is it that you find that so powerful as a learning mechanism, and how do you incorporate that into having kids learn about the ocean?
Well, I think as children, we're all inherently artists. We have this creative eye that, you know, sometimes gets suppressed or squashed by others as we grow up. I know for sure, me personally, I've always been an artist. I love calligraphy and type fonts and different ways of expressing messages. And I think that art is the ultimate catalyst to help convey any type of message that you want. For centuries, artists have always been the tip of the spear when it comes to social change. They see things in life from a different perspective than a lot of other people, and can kind of convey what is happening in real time through their medium, whether that be visual arts, digital art, spoken word, theater. You know, these are all art mediums that are powerful. And so using art as that vehicle to help convey the message about the ocean is super important, because when it comes to the ocean, it's out of sight and out of mind for so many people. Even though 70% of the world's population lives along the coastlines of these different continents, people are still not connected. And I see it in my own community. I mean, most of the children that would come to our events live 5-10 miles away from the beach and had never been. And I'm talking about 15, 16-year-olds that had never been to the ocean before. And so we need art. We need artists to kind of speak up. And we're at this critical crossroads where the ocean is at the brink of falling apart, essentially, and all because of our behavior. But that doesn't mean it's too late. Doesn't mean that we don't have time to recreate something new. We just have to hurry up and do it.
No, 100%. Could you talk a little bit about why Florida, the coastline of Florida, is so important? Maybe you could give some facts to people that might not know some of the issues and some of the reasons it is such an important coastline.
Sure. Well, Florida itself, I mean, we're at sea level for the most part, really low elevation. So we're susceptible to the impacts of sea level rise. As the ocean temperatures continue to rise, we're seeing that the sea levels will continue to creep in. And for communities like Miami Beach, which is like a world famous place, they're going to be underwater in a certain amount of time. And that's just what scientists have said. And so it's like, how do we create resilience? How do we plan for that? Secondly, I think that, we're also very vulnerable to hurricanes and superstorms. And due to climate change, we're going to see more of that in the coming days, that these storms are just going to be more intense. And how do we prepare for that? So there's so many different layers. And then the third thing would be, we have coral reefs along our coastline, which most states in the US can't really talk about. And that makes our state super unique. And we've experienced coral bleaching because of rising temperatures and other factors. But coral reefs are an essential part of our economy. For us to have, cities like Miami and Fort Lauderdale that are massive tourist destinations where people come down from all over the world to go out sport fishing or snorkel, scuba dive. If we have a dead reef, there's nothing for people to see. And so we have to protect that. We also have to protect the seagrass beds that are along our coast, because that's the nursery ground for these fish that live on the reef, as well as mangrove forests, the trees that live in saltwater that are so incredible. Like walking and wading through a mangrove forest is one of the most magical things you could ever do. Sans the smell of rotten eggs because of the sulfur dioxide. I don't mind the smell, but anyway, it is amazing. And those same mangrove trees buffer our coastline from those superstorms. So we need those places that are going to be able to create blue carbon, meaning like ecosystems that help sequester and pull carbon out of the atmosphere. That's exactly what seagrass beds and mangrove forests do. And they do it at a much higher rate than trees on land. And so the more that we can restore those ecosystems back to what they used to be, the quicker we'll be able to protect ourselves as well as contribute to the rest of the world.
And do you see it are you seeing a lot of the positive changes over in Florida? Are you seeing a lot of this replant? It's
50-50 right now, because a lot of people since COVID have moved down to Florida. So we're seeing a massive influx in population, and a lot of people who are moving down there are not aware of the sensitivity and the fragility of our local ecosystems. And so that's where my nonprofit and other great organizations who are doing that type of work come in. We have to be more vocal, more visible, so that people who are living there now will be aware and will do their part.
It's a very, very good point. And you personally, you're an avid scuba diver, so you get to see a lot of what's going on underneath the water. And it's something I have just recently, I learned about, it was literally like 6 months ago I learned how to do it, which was really exciting. And I hope to scuba dive more because it was so amazing. But do you think this is something more people should experience? And what is the kind of feeling you get when you're underwater? I know for me, it's actually very calming. I found it, people think it's scary. I found it incredibly calming, and kind of just fascinating that there is this literally another world going on down there that we know nothing about when we're just walking around on land kind of thing. We don't even know, a lot of people don't know about. So I just found it really peaceful and calm, and it kind of felt like all your worries go away in some ways. But what is the feeling you get from it? And do you think if more people experience that, they might actually think of the water in a different way?
Well, first of all, congratulations on getting certified.
Yay. Very excited.
And second of all, it's a huge goal, and so many people have deep fear about that, and with good reason, right? Like scuba diving is fun, but it's also like it is a risky activity. But I was certified when I was 17, and it was the thing that I knew I had to do in order for me to be fully immersed in the ocean and underwater. And like you, I have peaceful feelings. My body, my mind, my spirit is just at ease when I'm in the ocean, no matter how rough the surface is. Like there have been dives that I've gone on where I'm like literally seasick, but as soon as I get in the water, it all goes away. And I love being, of course, with marine life and having fish swim around me and sea turtles. And I just feel so connected to life underwater, and I'm in my happy place. And I highly recommend that anybody considering getting certified to scuba dive, please do it. It's one of the best decisions that you'll ever make. And it also helps encourage empathy for the ocean. by being a part of that ecosystem and feeling like you're one in that space. Like you're going to recognize, no, this is worth protecting. We have to make sure that this stays the way it is. I just loved every single dive that I've been on. I've probably been under, and at this point, close to like 70 plus dives in my life around the world, everywhere from Papua New Guinea to South Africa to Jamaica, Martinique, and Ecuador. And I just had so many great adventures underwater. And I'm so grateful because I know this is something that 99% of people around the world may have never or will ever have a chance to do. So I don't take that for granted.
No, I mean, no, definitely not. And it is so incredible. I'm guessing you must have, I mean, I've seen on your Instagram, but you've dived with sharks, have you, before? And yeah, and that's also, of course, that's what scares a lot of people, because you said you dived in Cape Town. My boyfriend's from Cape Town, lots of sharks there. But a lot of people are very scared of that experience. But sharks, if handled, and if you know what you're doing with someone who knows what they're doing, it's not something to be afraid of. And it's like been your experience that they're not an animal to be afraid of if you handle it in the right way. So is that your feeling towards it?
No, it is my feeling. Essentially, we know that they're predators. We know that they are built for a purpose, and that is, to be the custodians of the ocean. They maintain the food web beautifully in their role as apex predators. But yeah, that's their home. And when you enter the ocean, you got to respect their space. But what I do find when I'm in the water, when I'm in the water with sharks, you get to look at them in the eye. And when you're at eye level with an animal like that, there's a profound, just respect and immediate humility that I feel within myself, because you just look at a shark and like, damn, you were a beautiful animal and so perfect, and everything from the dermal denticles that shine in the light to their big eyes inspecting you. And last month I was underwater with tiger sharks for the first time, and that was unbelievable. They're so majestic and a little bit intimidating because they're big sharks, but just gorgeous. And I remember the first female that we saw underwater, I was down at about 75 feet on a sandy bottom, and we were just about to ascend because nothing was showing up. And then boom, she showed up out of the blue haze in the distance and just came in like a hovercraft, came in, looked at us, swam around a little bit, and then left. And then she was like, okay, bye.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do mine. That's amazing. And was this your recent trip in Brazil that you saw?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
And you were just filming something for the oceans there. Is there anything you can tell us about what you saw or what's coming, what we should? Can you tell us anything?
Yes.
So we went.
Well, I was definitely filming, and we were filming on the coast of a beautiful island called Fernando de Noronha, which is literally nicknamed Shark Island. It's 200 miles off the coast of Recife, which is in the northeast of Brazil. Brazil is a massive country, but the northeast is out there. And then you fly out, and the island even has a rock that's shaped like a dorsal fin, like a shark dorsal fin, which is wild. And we saw tiger sharks, we saw lemon sharks. At one point I was snorkeling with 18 lemons at the same time.
Wow. Geez, it has to be scary.
Yes.
So sometimes as well.
You got to keep your head on a swivel. Don't sleep on those sharks. And then we also saw a bunch of reef sharks, they're super cute. They're just really feisty and fun and fast and super curious. And so it was really magical. I can't talk about the production just yet, but when I can, I will let you know, and hopefully we can share it with your audience.
Yes, definitely. I would love that. I would definitely love that. I'm very excited. You use your social media in such an amazing way to get your message across and share a lot of these things. Like I did see, now you're saying that, I saw that fin-shaped thing on your Instagram.
Yes, now you remember, yeah.
Yeah, now you're saying it. I'm like, oh, it does look like a shark fin. So you use your social media in such an incredible way to use your voice and create this brand of yourself, which is an amazing, a lot of things that's available to us through social media. What advice would you give to someone? It doesn't even have to be about ocean science, it could be about anything, how they should use their social media in a way that helps build their brand. What's some advice?
That's a really good question. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some marketing geniuses when I was younger. And then I also had a lot of experience working side hustle jobs, because I didn't want to commit to a 9-to-5 job in order to make income while I was pursuing this dream. So I worked many random jobs, including being a promotional girl for certain brands. I remember being in like Bed Bath & Beyond promoting a energy supplement at one point, and like having to have these cold conversations with strangers and convince them that this is something that they should try. So that really helped me build a vocabulary when it comes to building a brand. And that's, I'm super grateful. At the time, I was like, why am I doing this job? I know it's to make money, but why am I here?
Yeah.
Sometimes you see in your life that those random things that you get involved with actually do serve a purpose and contribute to your future. So for someone who wants to build a brand, I think you're born in the right time. You're pursuing this at the right time because we have this digital metaverse that's evolving. There's connections where you can instantly connect with someone across the other side of the world, which is super powerful. I think the most important thing is to be clear about who and what your brand is. So you have to have a conversation with yourself, literally sit down and write an outline of what are the values that you hold, what's the vision that you want to create with this brand, and what's the message and the audience you hope to reach. Once you get clear on that, you can start to creatively come up with your own content. You don't have to follow the cookie cutter mold, like do what you want to do and create what you want to create. You're going to get feedback, positive, and you're going to get negative feedback as well. And you just accept that. If you put yourself out there, you will be exposing yourself. And that's something that doesn't come easy, because I think a lot of us are super scared of criticism. Yeah. And when it comes to building a public brand, you just have to swallow that fear and keep it moving. Whatever opinions people have of you, that's their business, not yours. So
nice.
Just do what you need.
Amazing advice. That's amazing advice. And I really like how you were saying as well, just you kind of never know where some of these things that you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I selling this vitamin? Can sometimes actually, like later on, you'll be like, oh, I actually got something out of that. So never give up on your dream, and if you're having to do things on the side, because you never know how they'll kind of teach you things along the way and lead into different avenues. You never know what's going to happen. Talking about that, you are such an inspiring person to me, because you kind of come across as someone, if you want to do something, you're going to do it, you set your mind to it, and you're going to try and achieve that. How do you keep that fearlessness? How do you sometimes there's people who are like, why me? Why am I going to be that person? But is there something that you what do you keep to keep your attitude so fearless and like, I'm going to go for it?
Well, thank you for that compliment. That means a lot to me, because it is something that I try to exude every day, even when I don't feel like it. Yeah. But I think two things. Number one would be my faith. I have a very deep connection with God, Allah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call this higher power. That is my source, and that's what I tap into to really help nourish my spirit and keep me going. But secondly, it's honestly just immersing myself in what I love. The more that I do what I love, whether it's snorkeling, scuba diving, talking to kids, I find inspiration in all of those things. And so what I would say is just, for someone to, number one, definitely figure out what your spiritual practice is, and know and stick with that, because that's super foundational, especially in the crazy times that we're living through right now. Yeah. Find that thing that's going to nourish you. Secondly, dive into what you love. It could be pottery, it could be rock climbing. Like, what is it that you love to do? Go do it, and stop waiting for somebody to give you permission. Because at the end of the day, no one's ever going to give you permission, actually. You need to give yourself permission and go for it and figure it out and be resourceful. That's really what keeps me moving.
I love that advice, and it's something I can take on myself, because you kind of think some of those things are a bit of a waste of time if it's not like achieving your goal. But like you say, it's actually something that keeps you on track to make your goals, because it gives you that energy, I guess. Yes. So I love that piece of advice. Do you have your day-to-day, I'm sure, can be a bit all over the place, because you're doing lots of different things. So sometimes you might have a podcast, and then you're speaking at an event, and then you're filming something. Is there any tips you give to people who are kind of freelancers like you, or involved in a lot of different things, to kind of keep balance in their day? Is there any rituals you have or daily habits that help keep balance in your day?
Ooh, well, Megan, you got that spot on. That's exactly what my life is like these days. And I've grown to accept it. Honestly, I think in the beginning years, maybe about 5-6 years ago, I was kind of resistant to this idea of everything being super random and not routine. I like routine, but I also get bored with routine, if that makes any sense. I like structure. And so what I've done is I've found ways to create structure in my life, even if it's in the tiniest way. For example, meditating is a great thing to do on a consistent basis. That really helps me kick off my day on the right foot. I even have, like, here in my room office, I have a spreadsheet of my days, and I just created like a windows of time of what I want to work on. I spend 2 hours on email. I'm going to do 2 hours of creative writing. Or I don't follow it every day, but at least I have that reference point that I can look at and be like, okay, when I feel scattered, I'm like, look back at the spreadsheet and try. And then when I'm on the road traveling, which is a lot of time, throughout the year, I find things that just make me feel comfortable, that help me stay clear. My technology, my devices are really helpful. I mean, my laptop, my cell phone, having my playlist that gets me centered again is really important. And always keeping in touch with family and friends also keeps me focused. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of what you're saying is things I'm having to learn. And I think also it's okay to, for people who are maybe feeling a bit like scattered and can't get these routines there just yet. I'm learning that it's all trial and error. I'm trying to figure out what works for me. Because I was then writing too many schedules. And I was like, if I don't fit to this, then I was getting annoyed at myself and would actually be angry. So you kind of have to find what works for you. I find, like you're saying, a loose schedule, in case you're scattered, you can go back to it. And also if it doesn't happen that day because something else, because I'm like you, my day-to-day always changing, not to be hard on yourself. So, but it's good to have some loose structure, I think, is a really great
Definitely
thing.
Be gentle with yourself, especially now these days. Mental health is everything. You don't want to drive yourself into the ground, because then you're going to burn out, and then you're effective and unable to do anything. And that burnout has happened to me more than once in my career. And I can tell you, I'm doing everything in my power these days just to prevent that from happening. And then the other thing that I didn't mention before was like you said, you write down your schedule, but like write down your short-term, long-term goals. I know it's cliche, but I can't tell you like how many people I know that don't do it. And it's like, how are you going to create your future, your career, the thing that you want to achieve and dream of, like, unless you write them down? And then after you write them down, it's about feeling that feeling of what it's going to be like when that happens, when those things are achieved, when you gain something that you've always wanted. How will you feel? So when you write that down, you look at that list and you're like, oh my gosh, sit with yourself and feel it in your bones, like how good it would be if that were to happen. And that to me is really one of the biggest catalysts when it comes to manifesting and visualizing your future. Because if you can see it, you can be it, you can believe it, you're going to make it happen, but you got to visualize it and feel it first.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually not something it's something I have in my head, but something I may not put enough time towards. And I think that's a really great piece of advice. Could you, just ending off on some tips, we're covering a lot about oceans. Obviously that's a huge passion of yours, for cleaner oceans, plastic-free ocean. Do you have any tips that we could give our audience just to how in their daily lives, some easy things they can go to that make a big difference?
Yes, there are lots of things that we can all do individually to contribute. Myself, I mean, I'm not the perfect plastic-free person. I'm not zero waste 100%. Especially because I travel a lot, I end up intercepting and sometimes using single-use plastics, which I don't like. But I know that every little bit counts. So the times and the places where I can use a reusable item, that really comes in handy. So I carry my utensils, my cup, my straws, my bags that I know that I can keep with me at all times. But beyond that, I think it's more of a mindset, because I feel like I found myself making myself really depressed when I think about the gravity of the amount of waste that we're creating every day as a global society. It's overwhelming. And you watch films like The Story of Plastic and whatnot, and then they're great films and they're super informative. It really puts things in perspective, but at the same time, it could really lead to like some super negative feelings. So what I've come to realize and where I'm at this juncture is looking at how I can support, number one, influence in the material science space. How can we encourage more people who are in that space to create something better? Because plastic is not going away. It's totally integrated into our, into our world and how we operate. So what can we do to change that? How can we make a better plastic that's not going to wreak havoc like it does now? And then secondly, look at our waste management stream. That's really our biggest challenge as human beings. Like, we're not following nature's rules, where nature has no waste. Nature uses everything, but we are here on this linear mindset and like having this thing, and then like we're left with all this crap. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. We need to transition to a circular economy. We need companies, corporations, and governments to be held accountable for the waste that they're creating instead of putting all that weight on the consumer. And we need better systems. And so however I can help support those two things, that's where I feel like I'm being most effective, and again, envisioning the future that I want to see. And so as conservationists, as activists, I think you got to really split your time. It's got to be like 25% talking about the present and the things that are going wrong. And then 75% of your time needs to be committed to building what you want, building what's going to be better, and contributing to that, and focusing your energy there, because us just focusing on the problem is really not going to do anything.
Agreed. I really like that, because I can feel that. I feel that overwhelming sense. And sometimes if you go too far of feeling overwhelmed, you kind of think, what's the point of trying? So I think it's very good to have that positive, okay, I'm going to try and help some of these changes, or get the word out, or speak about it, about some, because there's some really exciting new plastics. I've been speaking to a few different people. I visited this university campus in London that have developed this amazing new plastic plastic material that after they can set a different timeline of when it will decompose without any harm to the environment if it was left in a natural environment. So there's some really exciting things that are coming out. So if we can speak about them more and spread that, and I don't know, influence people to try and look at the products they're using, it's exciting.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited, actually. I'm serving as a judge on the Tom Ford Plastic Innovation Prize.
Wow.
And Tom Ford himself in fashion has committed $1 million to a group that can come up with a new material that can replace thin film plastic, which is used so much in the fashion industry to wrap every single garment. You've seen it from dry cleaning, all of these things. You've got that thin film that just doesn't go away. And so I'm super excited to be a part of the judging panel. So keep an eye out for that. We've got some great judges as well. And it's going to be good. We actually have a summit this Friday. So.
Oh, that's really exciting. Well, on that note, could you please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can where they can keep updated with all these things you've talked about, and the best places to find you?
Sure. Well, on social, of course, you can find me just under my name, Danni Washington. I'm on all platforms. And then you can also go to my website, DanniWashington.com. That I put all of my projects and other things on there. There's links to Big Blue and You. Also, my personal brand called Mocha Mermaid is also on that site, so you can check that out. And lots of ways to stay connected, and always happy to receive messages from friends, new and old, that I haven't, heard from yet, and always coming up with new ideas and ways to collaborate. So reach out, say hi.
Love that. Thank you, Danni. Thank you. It was so great to talk to you, and we learned so much. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Megan. It was really a pleasure to be here with you.